something that the city would never support, adjacent to these 2-acre lots. So I'm not really concerned about others coming forward wanting to change the use of their 2-acre lots in the periphery. But because of my the original position, I have to keep my word. And but again, I'm not trying to influence council in any way. You do what you think is the best, and that's my position, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sproviaria. Councillor Fortini, you're back on the board.
Through the chair. Just I noticed the entrance on the top of the lot. It's an in and out, right in, right out. And down at the bottom, it's only a right in only. So really, you enter and you have to come back around the whole property to come back at the back.
So through the chair, the Fitzpatrick access will be a full moves access. The applicant have proposed a right-in only, but comments from our transportation staff indicated, and that's indicated in the report, and it's set out as such in the recommendations, I believe, that it'll allow the full movement, so right in, right out, and left in. It'll be designed to discourage a right out movement, so discourage movements that would have to go through the neighborhood to the west. So, but it can't be designed as proposed. It would be actually created a bit of a dangerous situation.
Because I only see one right in only.
Yeah.
So it's like a one-way. Now at the top, we have a school. Don't we have to leave a certain distance between one entrance and another on a regional road? I thought there was a while. They're almost touching together. You might as well use one driveway. Share it.
So again, through the chair, the region has required that there be a 30-meter separation distance between that access on the school site and this one, and any access on the Gore Road here. So once they come in for a detailed design, that access would shift further to the south along the Gore frontage. So there'll be some redesign to the site. So, but they will have to deal with that aspect at the site plan stage.
So we're approving something, and we haven't designed yet the parking or the entrance, how it goes in and out? So, on the site plan?
Through you, Madam Chair. So at the rezoning stage, which we are now, obviously, really the plans that we all have to regard are conceptual in nature in some way. So they're as detailed as they can be, but with the understanding that a site plan process has to further play out, and really some particular details have to be looked at that stage. So the concept that we have here, as noted on Appendix 1, many things have obviously been truthed out, but there are some elements of it. So in this case, the access to the Gore Road, we're understanding that yes, it does have to shift to some degree to the south to accommodate the regional access requirements. But that said, we do understand from the region that they are accepting of the principle of the access itself. So yeah, there is going to be a change in that way, but fairly modest in the grand scheme of things.
I'm a little bit confused. I see a drawing in front of me. And, you want me to support something, and they say we have to do changes. Yeah.
Councillor Fortini, the only thing you're approving this evening, or the only thing that's recommended in the staff report, is the rezoning.
Yeah.
It's the only decision that you're being asked to
make
this evening.
Do we usually get a residential and change the zoning from the residential? It's the opposite way around. Industrial wants residential. We usually do that?
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair.
Can
you repeat the question?
To zoning, do we usually change the zoning from residential over on the state? Or is this the first?
So through you, Madam Chair, there's many instances of us changing from one zone to another. In this case, we have the RE2, our residential zone. We are recommending a change to a service commercial zone. That change that we're recommending, it's the bylaw itself, that contained within the recommendations of this report that we're recommending approval of. Again, the concept as shown in Appendix 1, it's a draft concept plan as stated within the title block on that appendix. So yeah, there can very well be, and oftentimes is, changes between the concept as reviewed through the rezoning application and what is ultimately then approved at a site plan application, and then to, getting building permits thereafter.
And the last question, and the noise impact for the kids on the playground, it won't affect the area whatsoever like the other application was referred?
I mean, there is ultimately a noise study that's undertaken by the applicant at the time of, there was a preliminary one done here, and then there'll be one additional at the site plan stage, which will address the noise issues. I mean, I note that this is a commercial development that's proposing a masonry wall against the abutting residential property that's immediately affected, unlike the school, which is to the north, which actually just has a chain link fence from its play areas and portables onto a number of different residential sites. So I suspect the dominant noise in this area is the traffic noise from those lots that are immediately within the area coming off the Gore Road.
I believe we got to support the residents. I remember when we did Hard Lake and another place in Councilor Peleshi's area, we supported the residents. So I think that was the right thing to do. That's what we were told in the past.
Thank you. Councilor Peleshi.
I think that's a little bit different, Councillor. We had thousands of people from Heart Lake that didn't support it, not half and half. But just to Councillor, I think 14's question about the Appendix 1, the concept drawing, maybe if we can ask the consultant to come down and explain a little bit more. If I can ask for the delegate to come down.
You probably had the concept here.
Thank you.
To clarify, what's before tonight is an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. The official plan and zoning bylaw doesn't get into detail about where the driveway ought to be, what kind of movement it ought to be. But we are aware through the region's comment that, and the school board's comment, that there ought to be a separation distance of 30 meters between the existing driveway to the school site to the north. The frontage on this property is 131 meters. In my opinion, Madam Chair, there's sufficient length on Gore Road fronting this property where we can adequately at site plan stage, if the application were to be approved for commercial, to provide the access that the school in the region needs. So keep in mind that this is 131 meter frontage, we're dealing with a 30 meter separation. So I just want to clarify that. And those are all technical in nature, and it's not, those details are not covered in zoning bylaw. They'll be dealt with at site plan. And I think what I'm hearing from staff is that they're aware of the comments. At site plan stage, those issues will be addressed. In terms of this noise, I reviewed the noise study. The source of noise, predominant source of noise today in this neighborhood is the Gore Road and the school site to the north. The playground to the daycare is not going to be the nuisance of noise, and that's what the noise study says. So I just want to make sure that we understand the contextual nature of the noise impacts. The masonry wall that was discussed is not to deal with noise. It's a requirement of the City of Brampton when there is a commercial property to residential. It's a requirement to put a masonry wall between the two properties. It's not to mitigate noise. And that's one of the reasons why you have a chain link fence along the existing school site to the north to the residential lots to the south. Thank you.
So just one more quick question, Colin, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. It's just, and also the applicant is going to take any suggestions, comments that they hear today, and when it comes back, they're going to try and incorporate that into the design of the building and the everything with the application.
Madam Chair, the applicant has patiently and respected the comments of the residents and the concerns, and also the issues raised by the circulation by city staff to the city departments and agencies. And I think if there's a track record on this application, it's been 6 years. That's, like I said earlier, 3 times longer than a typical application of this sort. I think that should demonstrate that the applicant is more than happy and pleased and patient to address all the issues that come forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. And just to clarify, once this is approved this evening, site plan doesn't come back to us. Okay. Councillor Provieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And can I ask, and we've done this before in the past, I recall, that when the site plan is prepared and the concept is ready to be approved, that perhaps if it's approved, that the neighbors are involved and make sure that they're happy with the concept. Can we put that into the conditions that there'll be consultation for the site plan approval process?
I do see the consultant shaking his head that he would take that under advisement and
We will be having him as well as the neighbors as
okay.
Okay. Good.
It's been moved.
Thank you.
Councillor Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the way I look at it, we have 41 people in the area that want this application to be approved. 32 on the signatures against, and 2 of which have said they wanted their names pulled off there, so 30 against. Somebody on the against side said that it was overwhelmingly opposed. I think that's kind of the opposite. It's more people that want it. And one of the persons I talked to today said that no matter what happens, if we don't turn this down tonight, they'll take it to the Ontario Municipal Board. Well, either way, I think whatever decision we make tonight, we're going to the Ontario Municipal Board. And for my residents, I want to be on the side of staff at the Ontario Municipal Board, so my residents aren't paying for an Ontario Municipal Board hearing, because I think that would be unfair to them. With 41 residents, or the majority of residents supporting this, I don't think we have a chance in heck of winning at the Ontario Municipal Board if we turn this down. So I'll be supporting the application.
Okay. Councillor Miles, you're back on the board.
Call the question, please, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Well, actually, technically, you can't call the question because you've spoken to the issue, but there's no other speakers. Okay, Mr. Clerk. You're back on the board, Councillor Fortini?
I'm looking at the signatures, but if we look at it, 70% don't even live in the area. I know that the roads, and if you look on the map, they don't even live there. So there's actually only 12 people that live there. The residents here, the 32, actually live on those 2 streets. Just want to clarify.
Councillor Gibson?
How did Councillor Fortini get a petition that has addresses? Mine are all blanked out. Mine are all blanked out. I don't know which one you're on.
So you have the petition that is against? So you have that, but that is the petition of those opposed to the application. And those are the ones that are...
Well, if I saw the floor, we have 2 petitions here that we've been handing out for the record. And both petitions, the addresses are blanked out. So, and I've heard 2 people who say that they didn't give authorization on one of these applications, so I'm not sure what petition Councillor Fortini has, but the rest of us don't have addresses.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk to call the question. Ready for the vote? It's been moved by Councillor Miles.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The recorded vote has been requested. Is committee ready? Right. I'll ask all of the members to vote right now by standing, showing their vote by standing. Those in favor, please. Please remain standing until I call your name. I have in favor Councillor Miles, Councillor Medeiros, Chair Moore, Councillor Paleshi, Councillor Willens, and Councillor Gibson. 6. May I have those standing who are opposed to this motion, please? I have Mayor Jeffrey, Councillor Fortini, Councillor Sprovieri. Madam Chair, the vote is approved in favor 6-3 with 2 absent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. And thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening and expressing your opinions on this application. Members of committee, the next item on the agenda, the minutes for the Cycling Advisory Committee are in consent. Seeing no other business, are there any questions from members of council? Seeing none, are there any questions from the public on any matter that we dealt with here this evening? Seeing none, those three magical words, motion to adjourn, Councillor Medeiros, all those in favor, that's carried.